To Syria now, where more than a dozen people, including children, have been killed in the latest round of airstrikes in Idlib. Activists blame Russia for today's attack, targeting a small village in the last rebel-held stronghold. Turkey-backed opposition fighters retaliated with shelling. This latest wave of fighting has forced nearly 1 million people to flee since December.
This comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan hold high-stakes talk on the volatile situation. Both countries have been on the verge of direct military conflict over the past few weeks. Now they're trying to negotiate a ceasefire. CBS News foreign correspondent Ian Lee is following the latest from Istanbul. So, Ian, you spoke to the U.S. Special Representative for the region, Ambassador James Jeffrey. What did he tell you?
Yeah, we touched on a number of issues. First, the humanitarian crisis inside Idlib province. Also, what the United States can do to help there, but also help Turkey. But also, importantly, on the rising escalation of tensions between NATO ally Turkey and Russia. We were just in Idlib. We saw the suffering in the hospitals and the refugee camps. What should the United States do?
First, understand the enormity of the situation. It's not just, as the UN has said, the biggest humanitarian crisis of the 21st century. But underneath it is a geostrategic quest for power by the absolutely corrupt war criminal Assad regime backed by Russia and Iran to try to overcome the opposition of the Syrian people, defy UN resolutions, and establish a peace of the dead throughout all of Syria.
How does the United States then confront that threat?
The Russians have turned down all of our offers for compromise, and they are pressing for a military victory. That is the problem. So what we're doing is we're trying to support Turkey.
Will Idlib fall to the Syrian government?
What the Turks are saying now is, and we support them 100%, is there cannot be such ceasefires anymore. They have to be real, they have to be enduring, they have to be a line on the ground that nobody violates. I do not think that the Russians and Assad are going to win in Idlib, and the reason is the Turks cannot back down, or they will have 3 million new refugees on top of the almost 4 million that they have now from Syria, and they cannot physically handle it. That's what we saw at the border, and I do not think that there is any way possible for them to cope with that, so therefore they're going to have to use their considerable military force to bring this offensive to a halt.
So you're saying that the Turks, with the backing of the United States, will use military force to stop this offensive from taking place in Idlib?
That's exactly what they're doing now. President Trump's basic philosophy is to help other countries play the lead role in military actions, military confrontations.
Would that be considered leading from behind?
No, it isn't considered leading from behind. It's considered smart.
The Turks want Patriot missiles. Will the United States give them to them?
We're looking into all of the ways that we can help Turkey. So at this point, we have not taken any final decisions on what exactly the package will be, other than that there is a need to help Turkey that can be met by us, it can be met by other NATO countries.
But it seems that there would be, if Turkey were to take a hard line, put them in direct confrontation with Russia, a NATO member confronting Russia directly.
We have essentially a NATO country confronting at least Russian advisory teams, Russian surrogates, we believe, quite possibly Turkish elements having been bombed by Russian aircraft. So you already have a certain very dangerous degree of confrontation already, which is why we really press for a ceasefire, an enduring ceasefire that will remove the danger of a real escalation. But absent Putin's willingness to go down that road, our assessment is that the Turks will likely, at some place in Idlib, hold and not pull back.
How is the relationship with Turkey and the United States right now? It has been fraught in the past, especially with the purchase of S-400 surface-to-air missiles. How is that relationship now?
The two presidents, President Erdogan and President Trump, have a very good relationship. President Erdogan believes that President Trump and the U.S. government are supporting him in various ways. We have one particularly problematic, outstanding issue that both the administration and the Congress is very concerned about. That's the Turkish purchase of the S-400s. The main problem with the S-400 is it makes incompatible the use of the U.S. F-35 fifth-generation stealth fighter.
So, Ian, what more can you tell us about the interview that you had with Jeffrey? Did he, give you any insight into maybe a possible ceasefire between Russia and Turkey in Idlib? We're talking about a major humanitarian crisis here. People want to leave, and they can't get out because these two countries are on the verge of direct military conflict.
Anne-Marie, a ceasefire seems very unlikely. If you look at two past ceasefires that were agreed upon by Turkey and Russia, both of those were violated by Russia and the Syrian regime. And now, speaking with the ambassador, he says that if there is going to be any sort of cessation of hostilities, any sort of ceasefire, then it's going to be one that is enforced by force, and that is forced by Turkey, that they draw the red line and say, we are not going to let you advance any further, and if you try to, we are prepared to use that force to stop you.
And Ian, we know the U.S. has tried to stay out of the Syrian civil war by only focusing on ISIS, but Turkey's a NATO ally. So what is the Trump administration's position on this latest round of violence?
Vlad, right now, the ambassador says that, as we heard, that they want to support Turkey. They want Turkey to take the lead on this. And they say they are willing to, they are prepared to give assistance, military assistance, other sorts of assistance to Turkey to make that possible. But he did pretty much all but rule out American troops on the ground in Idlib province. They are part of the American presence there to stop the Syrians, stop ISIS. But when it comes to Idlib, it is important, he says, for Turkey to take the lead on this.
And what do we know about the people that are still left there? This is a humanitarian crisis. Nearly 1 million people have fled thus far, but people are still there. We're talking about families with children. What's going on?
Anne-Marie, we were just there, and it really is. You can see the crisis for your eyes. There are tents, thousands of tents that are along the border. There are over 1 million people who are displaced inside Idlib province. And so there is a lack of food. There's a lack of medicine. There's a lack of warm clothes. It is quite cold there right now. We also went and spoke with the doctor, and they also talked about problems with medicine, also that they just don't have enough doctors and nurses. And all of this is just compounding the misery in Idlib.
All right, Ian Lee reporting for us in Istanbul. Ian, as always, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you very much.